The message arrived on a Tuesday morning. It traveled across space for 3 weeks before reaching Earth's outer communication satellites. The signal was clear and strange, nothing like human technology. Scientists worked day and night to decode it. When they finally understood the message, the whole world stopped to listen. It was an invitation. The Galactic Council wanted to meet humanity. For 3 years, aliens had been watching Earth from a distance. They sent small probes that hid in asteroid fields and behind moons. They listened to human radio signals and watched human ships travel between planets. The aliens thought they understood what humans were. They seemed like young species, new to space travel. Their ships looked simple and slow. Their technology appeared basic. The Council decided humans were ready for contact. The invitation was formal and polite. It asked Earth to send representatives to a peace station in neutral space. There was a small problem happening between two alien races, and the Council wanted humans to help solve it. It was a test, though the message did not say this directly. If humans could help make peace, they might earn a place in the Galactic Council. Earth's governments met in emergency sessions. They argued and discussed for days. Finally, they agreed to send a diplomatic team. They chose their best people for this historic mission. Ambassador would lead the delegation, was 50 years old with gray hair at his temples and calm brown eyes. He had spent 20 years working in international relations on Earth. He spoke 6 human languages and had helped negotiate peace agreements between countries, was known for being patient and fair. He never raised his voice and always found ways to make people agree. His friends said he could make enemies shake hands over dinner. The military sent Captain Song to protect the delegation, was 32 years old, tall and fit with short black hair. She had served in the Space Force for 10 years, trained every morning before sunrise, running and practicing combat. She could fix a broken ship engine and fly through asteroid fields without breaking a sweat. Her superiors chose her because she was smart and calm under pressure, never panicked, even when things went wrong. The science team sent Doctor as their representative, was 40 years old with messy hair and glasses he constantly pushed up his nose. He studied alien life forms, even though he had never met a real alien, had read every piece of information the probes had collected about other species. He memorized details about alien biology and culture, was excited beyond words. Meeting real aliens was his life's dream. 3 other specialists joined them. There was Jin Park, a linguist who would help with communication. There was a cultural expert who studied how different societies interacted. And there was Bo, a medical doctor in case anyone got sick or hurt. The team spent 2 months preparing. They learned everything the probes had discovered about the Galactic Council. They studied the 2 alien races involved in the dispute. They were a peaceful species that looked like tall, thin birds with purple feathers. They lived on garden worlds where plants grew easily and food was everywhere. There were merchants with 6 arms and blue skin. They traded goods across the galaxy and valued profit above all else. The dispute was about trade routes and cargo fees. It seemed simple enough, and his team prepared proposals and solutions. They practiced their presentations and chose gifts to bring. Earth sent art, music, and food samples. They wanted to show the best of human culture. The journey would take 6 weeks. The human ship was called the Unity. It was Earth's deep space vessel, built specifically for long voyages. The crew of 12 would operate the ship while the diplomatic team slept in suspension pods. This was standard procedure for long space travel. Humans had been using suspension technology for 5 years now. It saved resources and made time pass quickly for travelers. On the day of departure, crowds gathered at the launch facility. News cameras from every country pointed at the Unity. Children waved flags and signs saying peace to the galaxy, and humanity says hello. Stood at the base of the ship and gave a short speech. We go not as conquerors but as friends, said into the microphones. We hope to learn from the galaxy and share what we know. This is a new chapter for humanity. We will make Earth proud. The team boarded the ship. They waved to the cameras one last time. The massive engines roared to life and the Unity lifted off. It climbed through the atmosphere, leaving Earth's blue sky behind. Soon they were in the black of space, heading toward the outer solar system and beyond. Inside the ship, the team made final preparations. They checked their equipment and reviewed their plans one more time. Then, one by one, they entered the suspension pods. The pods looked like glass coffins with soft padding inside. Medical monitors attached to their bodies. A mild sedative helped them relax. Was the last to enter his pod. He looked around the ship one final time. "We're really doing this," he whispered to himself. "We're really going to meet aliens." The pod closed with a soft hiss. Cool gas filled the chamber. His breathing slowed. His heart rate dropped. In seconds, he was in deep suspension sleep. His body would rest while his cells received nutrients from the pod. He would not dream. He would not age. Time would simply stop until the ship reached its destination. The Unity accelerated past Mars, past Jupiter, and out toward the edge of the solar system. It moved faster and faster until it reached the jump point. Reality seemed to bend and twist. Light stretched into rainbow streaks. Then the ship jumped, disappearing from Earth's solar system and reappearing light years away. The journey had begun. In 6 weeks, they would arrive at the peace station. They would meet the Galactic Council. They would represent all of humanity in front of alien species that had traveled the stars for thousands of years. None of them knew what was waiting. None of them understood how the aliens would react to meeting humans in person. The files and data had not prepared the Council for the reality of humanity. They had studied humans from a distance, but they had never stood face to face with them. The galaxy was about to learn something new, something terrifying, something they had never encountered before in all their centuries of space exploration. They were about to meet a species they were about to meet humans. The suspension pods opened with a gentle beep. Woke slowly, his mind foggy from 6 weeks of sleep. The pod lifted its glass cover. Cool air touched his face. He blinked several times and sat up carefully. His body felt strange, like he had slept too long and not long enough at the same time. Around him, the others were waking too. Was already out of her pod, stretching her arms above her head, groaned and rubbed his eyes. The ship's medical officer checked everyone's vital signs and declared them all healthy. The suspension had worked perfectly. "We're here," said Jin, looking at the. Outside the window, a massive structure floated in space. The peace station was shaped like a flower with 6 petals spreading out from a central hub. It glowed with soft lights in colors humans had never seen before. Dozens of alien ships docked at various ports, each one designed differently. Felt his heart beat faster. This was really happening. They were about to meet aliens. The team gathered in the preparation room. They put on their formal clothes, wore a dark suit with a blue tie, wore her military dress uniform with medals on the chest, and the others wore simple professional clothing. They looked at each other and nodded. They were ready. The Unity moved slowly toward the docking port. Inside the station, dozens of aliens waited in the greeting chamber. The Council had sent representatives from 12 different species. They stood in a semicircle, waiting to meet the humans for the first time. The delegation stood on the left side. They were tall and thin, covered in purple feathers. Their large eyes blinked sideways. They shifted nervously from foot to foot. Next to them, the merchants waited. Their blue skin reflected the light, and their 6 arms held various greeting gifts. Other species filled the rest of the space. Some had scales, some had fur, and some had skin like smooth stone. A named served as the greeting coordinator, his purple feathers fluffed up with excitement. This was history in the making. The first time humans would stand before the council. He had practiced his speech for weeks. The docking clamps connected with a heavy clunk. The sound echoed through both ships. Inside the station, the airlock began to cycle. The aliens leaned forward, eager to see. Then the airlock door opened. The sound was deafening. To humans, it was just the normal hiss of air pressure equalizing. To the aliens, it sounded like a monster roaring. The vibrations rattled their sensitive hearing organs. Several aliens jumped back. One small creature fainted and had to be carried away. Tried to stay calm. Perhaps that was just their ship's sound, nothing to worry about. Then the human stepped through. Walked first, a gentle smile on his face. Behind him came, standing straight and tall. The rest of the team followed. They looked around the chamber with wonder and excitement. The aliens stared in frozen horror. The humans were huge. The average alien in the room stood about 130 centimeters tall, was 175 centimeters, was 180. They towered over everyone. Their presence seemed to fill the entire space. But it was not just their size, it was everything about them. Their eyes faced forward. Every predator species in the galaxy had forward-facing eyes for hunting. Prey species had eyes on the sides of their heads to watch for danger. The humans had textbook predator eyes, both looking the same direction, designed for tracking and catching prey. Smiled wider, trying to appear friendly. The aliens saw teeth. Flat teeth in front, sharp teeth on the sides. Teeth designed for tearing meat and grinding plants. An omnivore's teeth, a versatile predator that could eat anything. The humans walked with smooth, efficient movements. Their muscles moved under their skin like coiled springs. Every step was balanced and controlled. They moved like hunters. Forced himself to step forward. His job was to greet them. He opened his mouth to give his prepared speech, but only a small squeak came out. He tried again. "Welcome," he managed to say in translated speech. "Welcome to the council station." Stepped forward and extended his hand. This was a human gesture of peace and friendship. Stared at the hand. It was huge. The fingers were thick and strong. The nails were flat and blunt, but they still looked dangerous. "Thank you for having us," said warmly. His voice was deep and rumbling. It vibrated in his chest. "We are honored to be here." Carefully touched the human's hand. It was warm, very warm. The human's skin temperature was at least 10 degrees hotter than his own. This species ran hot, which meant a fast metabolism. Fast metabolism meant high energy. High energy meant dangerous. Stepped up next. She smiled at the gathering. "It's amazing to meet all of you," she said. Her voice was slightly higher than but still powerful. The journey was nothing, only 6 weeks in suspension. A ripple of shock went through the alien crowd. The translation devices had to repeat what she said because they could not believe it. Suspension. These beings voluntarily stopped their life functions and then restarted them. They died and came back to life for travel. A merchant whispered to his companion, "What kind of species treats death so casually?" Noticed the shocked faces. He thought they were impressed with human technology. He wanted to share more. "Yes, suspension technology has made deep space travel much easier for us," he explained. "Before suspension, long trips were very boring, but now we just sleep through them. The longest I've been under is 3 months. That was a trip to the outer colonies." 3 months dead, 3 months of stopped time. The aliens could barely process this information. Stepped forward with a box of gifts. "We brought some things from Earth," she said cheerfully, "cultural items to share." She opened the box and pulled out a thermos. "We have coffee, tea, and chocolate. Would anyone like to try?" The station's automatic scanners analyzed the items. Warning lights flashed on every alien's communication device. The chemical composition of coffee appeared on their screens. Caffeine levels that would be lethal to most species present. Theobromine in the chocolate that would cause immediate organ failure in many aliens. Even the tea contained compounds classified as dangerous stimulants. "These humans drink poison for pleasure," someone whispered. "Try to keep the situation under control." "That is very kind," he said quickly. "Perhaps later. First, let us show you to your quarters. You must be tired from your journey." Tired laughed. It was a bright, happy sound. To the aliens, it sounded like a predator's bark. Not at all. I actually slept really well. I'm ready to go for a run if there's a track on the station. A run after 6 weeks of suspension sleep, after traveling light years through space. This creature wanted to run. How long do you usually run? Asked a brave, curiosity overcoming fear. Oh, just 10 kilometers to start the day, said casually. Then maybe some weight training, nothing too serious. 10 kilometers. The average could walk maybe 1 kilometer before needing to rest. 10 kilometers would probably kill them. And this human called it nothing serious. Notice the alien seemed uncomfortable. He thought perhaps they were overwhelmed by meeting a new species. He wanted to help them feel at ease. Please don't worry about formalities with us, he said kindly. We're very relaxed. We're just happy to be here and help with your dispute. Every word he said, every gesture he made, was meant to be friendly. But to the aliens, each action confirmed their growing fear. These were not the simple, harmless beings they had observed from a distance. These were apex predators from a world that had forged them in fire and blood. The greeting ceremony continued, but it was not going at all as planned. The humans thought they were making a good first impression. The aliens thought they were in the presence of the most dangerous species they had ever encountered. And this was only the beginning. The welcoming banquet was held in the station's largest hall. Tables arranged in a circle filled the room, each one adjusted to the height and needs of different species. Soft music played from hidden speakers, a gentle melody that was supposed to make everyone comfortable. The council had prepared for weeks to make this event perfect. The humans entered the hall together. They looked around with wide eyes and excited faces. Everything was so alien and beautiful, smiled at the gathered representatives, walked with confident steps, could barely contain his joy at seeing so many different life forms in one place. They took their seats at a table near the center. The chairs had been specially made to support their height and weight. The council had done their research on human physical requirements. What they had not prepared for was everything else. A server approached with a tray of food. The items were carefully chosen to be safe for humans to eat. Simple fruits and grains from worlds with similar chemistry to Earth. The server's feathers trembled as they set the plates down. Being this close to the humans was terrifying. They smelled strange, like metal and something else they could not identify. Later, they would learn it was the smell of a high-metabolism predator. "Thank you," said to the server. He picked up a piece of fruit and took a bite. It was sweet and pleasant. "This is delicious." Around them, other aliens watched nervously. The humans ate with calm efficiency. They used the utensils provided, though their grip seemed strong enough to bend the metal. Every movement was precise and controlled. A merchant named decided to start a conversation. He had 6 arms and therefore 6 different gestures to show he meant no harm. "Tell us about your world," he said. His translator device made his voice sound friendly. "We have seen it from far away, but we know little about it." This was exactly what the humans had hoped for, a chance to share their home, leaned forward eagerly. "Earth is a beautiful planet," he began. "We have vast oceans that cover most of the surface, mountain ranges that reach high into the sky, deserts, forests, frozen lands, and everything in between." The aliens nodded. This sounded normal enough. Many planets had variety. "The biodiversity is amazing," continued. "Millions of different species share our world. Some are tiny, smaller than a fingernail. Others are enormous. Blue whales grow up to 30 meters long and weigh 200 tons. A small pause. The translator devices worked to convert the measurements. When the numbers appeared, several aliens gasped. 200 tons, on the same planet as these humans. "And you live alongside these creatures?" asked a scaly being from a desert world. "Well, not right alongside them," laughed. "Blue whales live in the ocean. But yes, we share the planet with many large animals. Bears, elephants, rhinoceros, hippos. They're quite dangerous if you're not careful. Dangerous. The humans lived with dangerous megafauna and called it normal. Join the conversation. I actually grew up near the mountains. I used to hike every weekend. Once I saw a bear and her cubs. I had to back away slowly and make noise so she knew I was not a threat. You encountered a predator and survived? I asked in amazement. Looked confused. Well, yes, you just have to know what to do. Bears usually do not attack if you do not surprise them or threaten their bobbies. Of course, there are some dangerous species. Polar bears will hunt humans, so will some big cats, but that's rare. The aliens absorbed this information with growing dread. The humans lived on a world where massive predators hunted them, and they acted like it was just a minor inconvenience. Wanted to share more about human achievement. Of course, humans have adapted to every environment on Earth. We live in the hottest deserts where temperatures reach 50 degrees Celsius. We live in the frozen Arctic where it drops to minus 50 degrees. We live on mountains where the air is thin. We even have permanent settlements underwater now. 100-degree temperature range. The aliens felt sick. Most species required environmental suits to handle even 20 degrees of variance. These humans just lived in it. How did you adapt so well? Asked, genuinely curious despite his fear. Evolution, said excitedly. This was his specialty. Earth is what we call the conditions are harsh. The weather is violent. We have hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis. Life had to become tough to survive. The translator device almost choked on the word. There was actually a classification for such places. Planets where the conditions were so hostile that they usually produced either no life or extremely dangerous life. The humans came from the latter category. But surely your people faced extinction many times, said a with concern in their voice. Oh yes, many times, agreed. Ice ages, meteor strikes, supervolcanoes, plagues. There were periods where human population dropped to just a few thousand individuals, but we survived. We always found a way. Jin added another detail, thinking it was interesting. Humans almost went extinct about 75,000 years ago. A supervolcano erupted and covered the sky with ash. Global temperatures dropped. Food became scarce. But a small group survived and eventually repopulated the whole planet. They nearly died out and came back. They faced extinction and refused to die. What kind of species has that level of determination? The meal continued, and with each minute the humans revealed more terrifying truths, talked about human history, about the wars and conflicts. We have not always been peaceful, she admitted. Humans fought each other for resources, territory, and beliefs. We had 2 massive world wars in the 20th century. Millions died. You fought your own species? I asked in horror. Yes, though we have gotten better about working together, said. The wars taught us important lessons. Now we have a global government that helps prevent major conflicts. A species that waged war on itself, that killed its own kind by the millions, and yet they survived and grew stronger. Then came the question that broke the last bit of alien composure. A young, barely an adult by their standards, asked innocently, "Do you have any animals in your homes? Companions?" The humans' faces lit up. Finally, something warm and friendly to discuss. "Oh yes, pets are very popular," said with a huge smile. "I have a dog back home. His name is Max. He's a German shepherd, very loyal and smart." "What is this dog?" asked the young. Pulled out his communication device and showed pictures. "Dogs are domesticated wolves. We bred them from wild predators over thousands of years. Now they live with us and protect us." The image showed a large animal with sharp teeth, pointed ears, and intelligent eyes. A predator. The humans kept predators in their homes, for fun. "Cats are popular too," added. "They're smaller but excellent hunters. My cat brings me dead mice as gifts." Another predator. The The humans collected predators. Some people keep snakes, lizards, even spiders as pets, Jin said. My neighbor has a python that is 3 meters long. Bo, the medical doctor, laughed at the aliens' shocked faces. Do not worry, these pets are safe. They love humans. Dogs especially will protect their owners. There are stories of dogs fighting off bears and other threats to save their human families. The pets fought bears, the pets. A station medical officer had been quietly scanning the humans throughout the meal. The results came back to their device. They looked at the data 3 times to make sure it was correct. Then they excused themselves and left the banquet hall. They needed to report this to the council immediately. Back at the banquet, dessert was being served. The humans enjoyed sweet pastries made from station-grown grains. Notice the alien seemed nervous. Is everything all right? He asked kindly. You all seem uncomfortable. Please tell us if we have done something wrong. We want to respect your customs. Who had been quiet most of the meal spoke up. No, no, you have been perfect guests. We are just fascinated by your world. It is very different from what we expected. Different how? Asked. Chose his words carefully. Your world seems to have many challenges, yet you speak of it with love. You describe difficult things as if they are normal. Nodded thoughtfully. I suppose to us they are normal. We grew up with these challenges. Earth made us strong. We do not know any other way to live. That was it exactly. The humans did not understand that they were terrifying because to them, everything they described was just regular life. They had no idea that other species lived in gentle conditions where food was plentiful, weather was stable, and predators were rare or extinct. The medical officer returned and whispered something too. The feathers went pale. He looked at the humans with new eyes, eyes filled with fear and awe. The data was clear. Human biology was not just unusual. It was impossible by normal standards. Redundant organs, extreme healing factors, the ability to function with injuries that would kill most species, an immune system so aggressive that it attacked anything foreign with overwhelming force. The humans were walking weapons. Evolution had made them into perfect survivors, and they had just shown up to a peace meeting, smiling and friendly, with no idea how dangerous they were. The banquet ended quietly. The aliens made polite excuses and left quickly. The humans returned to their quarters, happy with how the evening went. They thought they had made friends. They had no idea the entire station was in emergency meetings, trying to figure out what to do about the who had just arrived. The next morning woke early. He reviewed his notes for the mediation session. The dispute between the and seemed straightforward: trade routes, cargo fees, and shipping schedules. He had handled similar conflicts on Earth many times. He felt confident they could find a solution. Had already completed her morning exercise. She ran 30 laps around the station's observation deck, much to the shock of the maintenance workers who saw her. They could not believe anyone would run that much voluntarily. Now she stood in the shower, humming a song from Earth. She was ready for the day. The mediation chamber was designed for comfort. Soft lighting, pleasant temperature, and comfortable seating for all species involved. The delegation sat on one side, their purple feathers perfectly groomed. The merchants sat opposite them, their 6 arms folded in various defensive positions. Council observers filled the back rows, eager to see how the humans would handle this test. The humans entered together. They walked to the center table where the mediator position had been prepared. 3 chairs for, and Jin, who would help with translation and note-taking. The rest of the human team sat in the observer section. Stood and smiled at both delegations. To him, this was a friendly gesture. To the aliens, those teeth on display made their blood run cold. Thank you all for coming, began. His deep voice filled the chamber. We are here to find a peaceful solution to your trade disagreement. I want both sides to know that we approach this with open minds and fair judgment. He gestured toward His arm moved smoothly, muscles rippling under his suit jacket. "Please, tell us your concerns." The lead representative, an older male named, stood on shaking legs. Being this close to a human was worse than he imagined. The smell of that high metabolism, the heat radiating from their bodies, the way their eyes tracked every movement. We have a complaint about the trade routes," began. His voice was quiet. "The charge too much for shipping our goods through their territory. The fees have increased by 20% in 1 year." Nodded thoughtfully. "I understand, and what is your response?" he asked. A merchant named stood. Their 6 arms gestured in a pattern that meant fairness and reason in their culture. "The fees increased because our fuel costs increased. We are not making unfair profit. We are covering our expenses." "Do you have documentation of these increased costs?" Jin asked, his pen ready to take notes. "Yes, we do," said. They sent data files to the chamber's main display. Numbers and charts appeared, showing fuel prices over the past 5 years. Studied the information. This was good. Data they could work with, facts and figures. "These numbers show a clear increase in operational costs," he said. "However, I can also see why they would be concerned. 20% is significant." He stood and walked toward the display. His movement was casual, relaxed, but to the aliens it looked like a predator stalking. They could see the controlled power in every step. This was a being that could move fast when needed, very fast. "Perhaps we can look at alternative routes," suggested. "Are there other paths through space that might reduce fuel consumption?" The shifted uncomfortably. "Other routes exist, but they take longer. Time is money in our business." "Time is also money for us," countered. "We need our goods to reach markets quickly. Spoilage is an issue." Leaned forward. She wanted to help. "On Earth, when we face trade problems, we often look for creative solutions. Have you considered shared shipping schedules? Combining cargo from multiple sources to maximize efficiency?" It was a good suggestion, a practical idea. But the way she said it, with that confident tone and direct eye contact, made it sound like a command, like a superior giving orders to subordinates. The aliens felt compelled to agree just to avoid displeasing this powerful human. Decided to share some context. Maybe if the aliens understood human problem-solving, they would feel more comfortable. "We have experience with these kinds of issues. Earth had many nations competing for resources and trade advantage. We learned to cooperate through negotiation and compromise." He pulled up his own data file, showing Earth's history of trade agreements. "See, in the 21st century, we had major conflicts over shipping lanes in our oceans. Countries argued about territory and fees. Some conflicts almost led to war." War, the word hung in the air like a bomb. "But we found solutions," continued, not noticing the alien's reaction. "We created international laws and regulatory bodies. We agreed on fair pricing and shared resources. It took time and effort, but we made it work." Added more context, thinking it would be helpful. "Of course, before we learned to cooperate, things were difficult. The 20th century had 2 world wars. The first killed about 20 million people. The second killed about 80 million. These conflicts taught us the importance of peaceful negotiation." 80 million. The number was so large the translator devices took a moment to process it. The total population of some entire planets was less than that. "You killed 80 million of your own species," an observer whispered in horror. "Yes, it was a dark time in our history," said seriously. "But we learned from it. After the Second World War, we created the United Nations to help prevent future conflicts. We developed nuclear weapons, which made war too dangerous to wage." Nuclear weapons. The data file showed images, mushroom clouds, cities turned to ash, weapons that could destroy entire populations in seconds, and the humans had built these, had used them, had survived them. "We call it mutually assured destruction," explained. If anyone uses nuclear weapons, everyone loses, so we agreed not to use them. It kept the peace for decades. The peace kept by the threat of total annihilation. This was the human concept of diplomacy. Wanted to lighten the mood. He sensed the tension but misunderstood its cause. "Do not worry, we did not bring any weapons to the station," he laughed. "Though is trained in combat, of course. All our military officers are. Just basic hand-to-hand and weapons training," said casually. "Nothing special. Every Space Force member gets it." In the observation area made a small noise. Could you show us what this training involves, for educational purposes?" Looked at, he nodded. It might help to demonstrate human capabilities, show that they were competent and capable, build trust through transparency. Stood and moved to an open area in the chamber. "This is a basic defensive stance," she said, positioning her body. Her legs were shoulder-width apart, knees slightly bent. Her hands were up and ready. If someone attacks, you protect vital areas first. She moved through a series of techniques, blocks, strikes, and holds. Each movement was fast and precise. Her fist cut through the air with a sound like a whip crack. Her kick would have broken bones if it connected with a target. The aliens watched in absolute terror. This was basic training. This was what every human soldier learned as a minimum requirement. "Of course, this is just for close combat," said, breathing normally despite the intense demonstration. "We train with weapons too. Firearms, blades, and improvised tools. The goal is to be ready for anything." Ready for anything. These humans were always prepared for violence. It was built into their military structure, into their society. Clapped his hands together. The sound made several aliens jump. "Thank you, very informative." He turned back to the trade delegations. "Now shall we return to the discussion? I think we were making progress." But something had changed in the room. The delegates looked at each other. A silent understanding passed between them. They were not enemies. They were both prey species facing something far more dangerous than trade disputes. Stood slowly. "Ambassador, we would like to request a brief recess to discuss matters with our respective teams." "Of course," said warmly. "Take all the time you need." The delegations left together. They went to a private conference room. For 10 minutes they talked quickly and urgently. When they returned, both groups wore expressions of determination. "We have reached an agreement," announced. His face lit up with joy. "That is wonderful. We have not even finished the first session." "Yes, well," said carefully. "We realized our dispute was minor, not worth the time and resources of this mediation. We will accept a compromise. That will reduce their fees by 10%. We will accept the remaining 10% increase as reasonable given the economic conditions." They nodded all 6 of their heads. "We agree to these terms, immediately, with no further negotiation needed." Was amazed. This was the fastest resolution he had ever witnessed. "Are you certain? We have time to discuss this more thoroughly, to make sure the agreement is fair to both sides." "We are very certain," both delegations said in unison. "This is acceptable to us," added. "We wish to end the dispute now, right now, as soon as possible." Looked at his team. They all seemed pleased but slightly confused. This was almost too easy, but he was not going to argue with success. "Very well. If both parties agree, we will formalize the agreement and present it to the council." They signed the documents with visible relief. They shook hands, or whatever passed for handshaking in their cultures. They smiled at each other, united in their desire to settle this quickly and get away from the humans. The council observers were stunned. A dispute that had dragged on for 2 years had been solved in less than 1 hour. The humans had not even finished presenting their mediation proposal. As the delegations left, turned to his team. "That went better than expected." "Much better," Jin agreed. "I thought it would take days." "Maybe they just needed a neutral third party," suggested. Sometimes disputes solve themselves when both sides realize they are being unreasonable. Nodded, we must have made a good impression. They seemed very eager to cooperate. The humans packed up their materials, happy with their diplomatic success. They had no idea that the N had settled their dispute not because of human mediation skills, but because of human terror. Both species had decided that any disagreement between them was insignificant compared to the need to stay on good terms with the peace station's emergency meetings were growing more urgent. The humans had accidentally demonstrated their capability for violence while trying to be helpful and transparent. They had solved a years-long dispute in minutes not through diplomatic skill, but through the sheer intimidating presence of their existence. And they had no idea. The human delegation gathered in their quarters for the last time. Their mission was complete. The trade dispute was solved. They would return to Earth as heroes, the first humans to successfully participate in galactic diplomacy. Sat at the desk, writing his final report. He smiled as he typed. First contact exceeded all expectations, he wrote. The alien species were welcoming and cooperative. The mediation was successful, with both parties reaching agreement quickly. I believe humanity has a bright future in the Galactic Council. Packed her belongings carefully. She folded her uniform and placed it in the travel case. You know, she said too, I was worried they would find us strange or primitive, but they seemed really interested in everything we had to say. Nodded enthusiastically. They asked so many questions about Earth, about our biology and culture. I think they genuinely wanted to understand us. He paused, thinking. Though they did seem nervous at times. Maybe they were just excited. First contact is emotional for everyone. Jin laughed. That looked like he was going to faint when we first arrived, but by the end he was much more relaxed. Actually had filed a medical report for stress-induced illness and requested trauma counseling. But the humans did not know this. Bo finished checking the medical supplies. Well, I am glad no one got sick or injured. The trip went perfectly. We are ready to head home. The Unity prepared for departure. The human crew loaded the last of their supplies and ran final system checks. Everything was in order. They would enter suspension sleep for the return journey and wake up in Earth's solar system. At the docking port, a small group of aliens came to see them off. It was traditional to say goodbye to visiting diplomats, but this farewell was different from any other in Council history. Stood at the front, his purple feathers carefully controlled. He had practiced his goodbye speech many times. He needed to be diplomatic, needed to not offend these terrifying creatures. Ambassador began, his voice only shaking slightly. On behalf of the Galactic Council, we thank you for your assistance. The resolution of the trade dispute was remarkably efficient. We were happy to help, said with genuine warmth. He stepped forward and offered his hand, took it, trying not to tremble at the crushing strength in that grip. We hope this is the beginning of a long friendship between humanity and the Council, continued. We have much to learn from you, and perhaps we can share some of our experiences as well. Please no more sharing, thought desperately. We have learned quite enough about your death world and your casual relationship with violence and extinction. Yes, yes, said aloud. Very much so, we will be in contact soon, very soon to discuss next steps. Shook hands with several other aliens. Each one tried to appear calm and unafraid. Each one failed. Thank you for the wonderful hospitality, she said. The food was great and the station is beautiful. I hope we can visit again. The thought of these humans returning made several aliens feel physically ill, but they all smiled and nodded. The humans boarded their ship. They waved from the airlock one last time. Then the door closed with that terrible hissing roar. The Unity disconnected from the station and began moving away. Soon it was just a small light in the distance. Then it jumped and it was gone. On the station, every alien present let out a breath they had been holding. It was over. The had left. They were safe again. For now, immediately called an emergency council session. Every representative was required to attend. No exceptions. Within an hour, the main council chamber was full. Beings from hundreds of worlds gathered, all talking at once. The noise was overwhelming. The council elder, a being named who had lived for 300 years and seen everything the galaxy had to offer, called for silence. Their ancient voice carried authority that could not be ignored. "We must discuss the humans," said simply. The chamber erupted in conversation again. Everyone had opinions. Everyone had concerns. Let them talk for several minutes, then called for silence once more. "Let us review what we have learned," continued. They activated the main display. "The humans come from a class XII. Earth has extreme environmental conditions, violent weather, active geology, and aggressive predator species. Yet humans not only survived but thrived." Images of Earth appeared on the screen. Hurricanes, tornadoes, erupting volcanoes, and massive predators. The council members who had not seen this data before gasped in shock. "Their biology is extraordinary," continued the station medical officer who stood to present their findings. "Redundant organs, extreme healing capacity, the ability to function with catastrophic injuries, an immune system that attacks foreign material with overwhelming force. They are, by every measure, designed for survival in the most hostile conditions." More data appeared. Comparison charts showing human capabilities versus other species. The humans exceeded almost every other species in physical metrics: strength, endurance, healing, sensory capability. "They hunt," said an observer. "They evolved as pursuit predators. They can track prey for days until it collapses from exhaustion. This is documented in their own historical records." "They fight wars," added a, "not small conflicts but massive wars involving their entire species. They developed weapons capable of destroying their own planet. And then they chose not to use them because the threat of mutual destruction was the only thing that stopped them." Stood, his feathers still pale from his experience. "They do not understand how dangerous they are. Everything they told us they said with pride and joy. They love they keep predators as pets in their homes. They voluntarily stop their life functions for travel and think nothing of it. And they think they made a good impression," added. "They believe we are friends now. They think we were impressed by their capabilities." A heavy silence fell over the chamber. This was the most frightening part. The humans had no idea. They thought they were normal. They thought their world was normal. They had no concept of how terrifying they appeared to species that evolved in gentle environments where food was plentiful and predators were rare. "What if they become aggressive?" someone asked. "What if they decide they want to expand, to take territory?" "What if they decide we are a threat?" another voice added. "What if they turn their weapons toward us?" Raised a hand for silence. "These are important questions, but I believe we are approaching this incorrectly." The elder stood and walked to the center of the chamber. "The humans are dangerous, yes. Perhaps the most dangerous species we have ever encountered, but they are also kind. They came here wanting to help. They solved a dispute peacefully. They were friendly and respectful, even when we were clearly afraid of them." This was true. The humans had been nothing but pleasant and cooperative. "I propose a different approach," said. "We do not treat the humans as enemies. We do not try to contain them or limit them. Instead, we welcome them. We give them everything they want. We make them our friends, not our enemies." "You want to reward them for being terrifying?" someone asked incredulously. "I want to ensure they never have a reason to become unfriendly," said firmly. "A species that survived extinction-level events and still chose peace when they could have chosen violence is a species worth having as an ally." Murmurs of agreement spread through the chamber. It made sense. Terrible, frightening sense, but sense nonetheless. "I propose we offer humanity immediate full membership in the Galactic Council," declared. with a permanent seat and full voting rights. We make them part of our government. We give them a stake in maintaining peace. They solved a 2-year dispute in 1 hour, added. Imagine what they could do with other problems. Imagine having their capabilities working with us instead of against us. The vote was called. It was unanimous. Every single council member agreed. Grant the humans full membership. Give them a permanent seat. Keep them happy. A secondary vote followed. This one was about information classification. The council would not tell other species how frightening humans truly were. Let them meet humans and form their own opinions. Let the galaxy gradually adapt to the presence of. No need to cause panic. But there would be protocols, rules to follow when interacting with humans. Be respectful, be honest, never threaten them, never make them feel cornered or afraid. A cornered predator was the most dangerous thing in the universe. The council session ended after 12 hours of discussion. Everyone left exhausted but relieved. They had a plan. It might work. It had to work. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, the Unity returned to Earth's solar system. The human delegation woke from suspension sleep. They stretched and yawned, excited to be home. Sent a message to Earth's government. Mission successful. First contact went extremely well. They seemed very interested in humanity and our capabilities. I believe they were impressed. Recommend we continue diplomatic relations. The message was received with celebration. News media across Earth reported the successful mission. Children in schools learned about the historic first contact. Humanity had made friends among the stars. The future was bright. 3 days later, an official communication arrived from the Galactic Council. Read it in his office, his eyes growing wider with each paragraph. Humanity is hereby granted full membership in the Galactic Council, the message read. This is an unprecedented honor, as most species must wait decades before receiving membership. However, the Council has unanimously agreed that humanity has demonstrated exceptional diplomatic capabilities and would be a valuable addition to galactic governance. A permanent seat awaits you. We look forward to your participation in all Council matters. Sat back in his chair, stunned. Full membership, permanent seat, immediate acceptance. This was far beyond what they had hoped for. We must have really impressed them, he said to himself. He had no idea. Across the galaxy, the Council issued a quiet directive to all member species. It was not publicized. It was not announced. It was simply sent to every government, every diplomatic corps, every military command. Regarding the humans, they are friendly. Keep them that way. The human delegation had shown up to a peace meeting and accidentally frightened the entire galaxy. They had revealed themselves to be apex predators from a casually describing horrors as if they were everyday occurrences. They had demonstrated their capacity for violence while trying to be helpful and transparent. And through it all, they had remained kind and respectful and completely unaware of the terror they inspired. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. The most dangerous species in the universe was not one that tried to be frightening. It was one that had no idea it was frightening at all. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same.